Yeah, I'm Halle and this is Mega, coming to you from Twin Hills Community Church, where every single week we're giving our mega church a tiny family feel. We love to introduce you to members of our church staff and people from our community, and I always find it to be a treat and a treasure. And per usual, I'm joined by my co-host. He's the youth pastor for our high school ministry called Climax. Please welcome Gray Haas.
I've got all the feels because God is real. Halle, how are you?
Too blessed to be stressed, too anointed to be disappointed, and way too grateful to be hateful. Well, our guest today works at the Remembrance of Tea coffee shop here on campus at Twin Hills. It's my pleasure to introduce Satchel Morehouse. How you feeling today, Satchel?
I'm doing pretty good. I got to thank both of y'all for having me on here. It's a real honor. You know, I listen to you guys a whole bunch. As you know, I'm pretty new here, and I get a lot of get a lot of feeling at home and insight into my new community by listening to y'all.
Well,
Awesome.
Satchel, it's really nice to meet you because you strike such an interesting image, you know, there behind the In Remembrance of Tea, you're slinging, I guess you're a barista, is that right?
Yeah.
Well, I just officially, thank you for saying that, I just officially became a barista. You know, my story is I've been given third, fourth, fifth, and sixth chances by the Lord and people that I've come across. I've had to start my life over a whole bunch of times, and here I am at this amazing church. And
What was the fifth chance?
the fifth chance was a hit and run that
Okay.
Wow.
I was guilty of. You know, I was hopped up on methamphetamine.
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Very big into the rave community at the time, and
Really?
yeah, if you remember raves.
I'm a bit too young, but...
And
Yeah, but-
you know, I was high on methamphetamine, ketamine, all sorts of stuff, playing with a bunch of club kids from New York City, if you can believe that. And I won't go into the details, but I did some bad things, and I didn't want to own up for it, but got thrown in jail for that.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, you served your time. And you know what? I say it's all covered in the blood, you know? I mean, that's why Jesus hung on the cross, was because he knew you were going to pop some pills and, you know, not take responsibility for your traffic accidents and whatnot.
Well, and it might be that some other things were probably covered in the blood in this regard, too.
Oh, it was very bloody. Absolutely. Yeah. It was a little, I'll give you a little bit of insight because I'm sure you're interested. It was a little bit of a Cannonball Run, kind of like fruit stand in the middle of the road situation.
Really?
Sure. Right.
Yeah. So it was a watermelon peddler, and you couldn't tell what was the difference between what was watermelon meat and what was human meat.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess it's just, it begs the obvious question, what was the fourth chance?
Thank you for, well, I was working oil rigs in West Texas at the time. And,
Wow.
yeah, believe it or not, it was another hit and run.
Really?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was. I got involved with I don't know if you know about this group of hippies called the Rainbow People. They travel around different desert cities, and I dabbled in hallucinogens at the time. And while on break from, you know, the way you work there is you're 3 weeks on, 1 week off at the rigs, and I was 1 week off, and that turned into several years off, if you know what I mean. I was kind of driving them on the bus a little bit like Neil Cassidy, who drove some of them beatniks on that wild bus called Further. I was really, really high, tripping on psychedelics, and thought I saw on the road what I thought was a bunch of bowling pins.
Oh, sure.
Well, needless to say, it wasn't bowling pins.
Oh, what was it?
It was 12 nuns.
Oh, my goodness
Really?
gracious. They do
And in my
travel
defense, they
packs.
were in a perfect T formation. I don't know, understand what that, you know, has to do with anything.
They
All
might
the
have been
more
migrating.
ironic. It could be. All the more ironic that I would end up being saved by a church, you know. So again, the Lord does work in mysterious ways, and
Isn't that right? Yeah.
you know, I got taken in by Josh over there at the In Remembrance of Tea, and I started out, you know, just washing dishes,
Yeah.
and picking up, cleaning tables, bussing tables, and things like that, and slowly started to learn about the culture of coffee, and started out with just some of the simple, like Arabica beans and Ethiopian beans, Jamaican Blue Mountain, and eventually started to learn how to roast, how to make cappuccinos and
Really?
frappuccinos. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say that the quality of the coffee has just like really gone through the roof since
Yeah,
you've
it's
gotten
noticeable.
That's real sweet of you to say. Yeah, I used to be just kind of a Folgers guy, of course, and I realized that this is really it's an art and a craft, and coffee is very important to people, as you know.
Yeah,
It's a way that you're helping them start their morning, and before I went off on my wicked ways, I used to love to draw, and as you might have noticed, I've gotten pretty intricate in some of my foam art.
Oh,
Yes.
it's incredible. I
Yeah.
mean, I looked down at, I
Unbelievable.
ordered a cappuccino the other day and I looked down and I gasped because I saw the face of Christ in the foam art. And I thought, this is a miracle. But then you were quick to say, no, it is a miracle. But, I am the one who, I am the one who
Right.
drew. Or
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I do some very detailed scenes of the life of Christ, and some of the brutality that took place there upon the cross.
Yeah, which is shocking to see in a coffee cup, to be honest.
Yeah.
It is, and a lot of people have to say, "What is that?" And I said, "Well, that's an extreme close up of a Roman spear sticking into your Savior's side there."
Well, I feel like it's opportunities for education that you're creating left and right, because the other day I looked down into my foam and I says, well, who is this serious fella staring back at me? A very detailed with shadowing and everything, a very serious looking fellow. I said, is this, I thought maybe it was St. Peter at the gate letting people into heaven or not. You said, well, that's Karl Marx. And I said, who's Karl Marx? I had no idea if he was a member of the church or what. And he got to teach me, Satchel taught me who Karl Marx is, and I thought it was fascinating.
Oh, the comedian?
No. Well,
Oh, okay.
a common misconception. If you spend any time in prison at all, which I hope you haven't, reading becomes a really big part of your life, and that's where I got into, the different marks and angles and all sorts of. Of course, I was a Muslim for a little bit.
Oh, really? I'm sorry.
Thank you for that. Thank you. But reading was a big part of that, and the foam art is how I process things. That's why every once in a while you'll see my perspective from a windshield coming up on some of my victims, and then of course in the rearview mirror as well.
Yeah, those are fantastic.
And were all of your, first through sixth chances all hit and runs? And, I guess the follow-up to before I even hear the answer is, why the run? If you're always going to hit, do you have to run once you've done that a few times? Or is that just kind of built into, the life that you were living?
Well, I'll be honest. Fear takes over and becomes an instinct, and then I'd hate to admit this, but you become good at it. The run becomes part of the I won't say fun, but it becomes part of the rush, and
Wow.
it just sort of why wouldn't you run?
Right.
And I'll be honest. I never got very far, but I did run. But no, not all of my second my multiple chances were hit and runs. Some of them were. I used to poke holes in condoms at Planned Parenthood I thought it was a sick joke.
Really?
Yeah, I used to. I would kind of whisper an annoying song in people's ears and then walk away, and then they'd have that song playing in their head over and over again.
So
Yeah,
chance
little
first chance
trickster.
number 1 was whispering songs. Second chance was poking holes in condoms, and then 3, 4, or then I guess we don't know 3, but we do know 4, 5, and I'm assuming 6 is the hit and run that happened here in the church parking lot. That
It is,
that maybe
yes.
okay,
But I don't think it counts if it's in a parking lot.
and that was really a slow. What would you call that? A slow back up and then pull away.
Well, yeah. Now that's interesting because usually the hit and runs are from the front.
Right.
So this is a run and hit in a sense,
Right.
And yes, it was in a parking lot. I take full responsibility for it, of course, but I will say I did have a loud beep beep beep. I had stolen a Costco forklift.
Right.
That's right.
Of course, I was high on. I don't know if you know what Jankum is.
Never heard of
Never
it.
heard of it. I thought that
hash.
was a fun game.
Oh, wow.
I thought that was the little block game where you don't want to knock them over.
You build them up.
Oh no, I don't want to. Well, I don't want to be the kind of I was going to say I don't want to tell you, but I also don't want to be the kind of person that's like, oh, never mind, and then you're just wondering what is it.
Right.
Jankum or butt hash is when you collect feces or human urine and you cap it up and gas it until it becomes like a pretty noxious fume, and you huff it like you might aerosol or spray paint and get you high.
Wow. Really? I've never heard of this.
Very creative.
I just thought it was the game that the youth always say they're playing where they knock over the blocks, but maybe I need to look into this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think you're thinking of Jenga.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
But I think they call it Jenga. What do you call it?
Jankum.
Jenkum.
Is this
Jankum.
something I should be worried that my teens are getting into? I mean, I've got kids in the house. I know to look out for weed and booze, but I didn't know about Jankum.
Well, what are they into? Are your kids into skateboarding or?
I do have a son named Day who loves to skateboard.
Okay, well, I will say that butt hash is real big in the skating community.
Oh, no,
certain
it
parts of it.
grieves the heart
I'm
of
sure he's
God.
probably done it, Halle, because
Oh,
he's got
no.
a smooth brain.
What are the signs of it that I should be looking for?
Well, he's going to smell like pee-pee or poo-poo when he comes home.
Well, that's pretty typical of a teen.
Yeah.
True that. I would say also just like a one side, almost like a Bell's palsy. One side of his face will be drooping down.
Okay.
Watery eye.
Watery eye.
I mean,
Yeah.
see, and isn't this fascinating? Because these traits are also what teens kind of are like all the time. They're always drooping around. It's, saying how tired they are.
Sure.
They're
If
always
it
crying
ain't
about something.
their pants that are drooping, it's one
Yep,
half
yep.
of their face.
It's true, isn't it?
You know.
I mean, I guess I've got to ask, when it comes to what you've found has pulled you out of, essentially a series of really hard things in your life. How has Jesus and Christ specifically really been the one that has gotten you, out of the car, as it were, out of the forklift, and into a cafe where you're finally able to really realize your skills?
Well, I think the honest answer to that is I'm an extreme follower. I didn't have much of a maternal or paternal figure in my life, and so I would just kind of glom on. That's it seems kind of anachronous that I might get involved with rave culture and skateboard culture and all that. The thing is, like, I don't really know who I am, so I'll follow whoever tells me, like, hey, this will be fun, or you should do this, or you should do that. And this time it's Jesus, and I'm just hoping it sticks.
And that isn't it? It's probably why you always have kind of been rambling around and felt pretty lost, is if you're just following anybody, you don't know where you're going, do you?
Yeah.
Sure. And if you follow everybody, you're going nowhere.
Wow. Well, I feel like now you're following, for the first time in your life, you're following the only real one truth. You've stumbled into the right place.
Absolutely. It's sort of like, I was just like literally a green bean, and then Jesus, my trials and tribulations roasted me.
Oh, wow.
And then my second, third, fourth, fifth chances ground me down, and then and they to like a number 4, and then they put me in a little espresso basket. George pushed the button. The holy water ran through me, and the community is whichever milk of your choosing.
Yes.
Oat,
Okay.
cashew, whole 2%.
And a lot of people might not realize this, and I should just paint the picture. You don't really look like you sound, because now I would say, just so people know, you've got a beanie, a sort of I guess you would call that a waxed mustache.
I've got a waxed mustache. I wear a vest.
You're wearing, I guess that's what does that shirt say? Death cab
for cutie. Yeah.
Okay. You're wearing
not
shirt.
quite. I wouldn't call them an emo band, but I guess you'd call them sort of aughts indie rock.
Okay. And you're wearing kind of high pants with suspenders and Dr.
And I'm
shoes.
just under 5 foot 1 inches tall.
That's right.
And
Slight man.
and yep, I have a Vespa that I drive around on.
Yeah, and it's so the look is just not really what you hear when we hear you. Sometimes I think, wow, we're talking to kind of someone from like my somebody who used to fight the Nazis or something. But really, you really look like you work in a coffee shop now. And
Well, as I said, I'm a blank slate, and I picked up on what some of the other people were wearing. I have a leather backpack with real thin shoulder straps, and I started vaping. That's another community that's been very supportive of me.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
What is that? Is that what you do outside of work?
Sure. Yeah. I don't know if you're familiar with the Vape Lounge.
In
Vape
Broad
Escape.
Ripple.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I've passed it.
Vape Escape. I found some like-minded people in there, some believers who've been on some hard roads like I have, and we just work on our ring game, and there's different kinds of things you can do, ring within a ring. There's one guy who knows how to make a square, if you can believe that.
Really, with the vapor.
With the vape, yeah.
I feel like with your visual arts skills, Satchel, you could be blowing, vape rings that are like, the way Gandalf could do them in Lord of the Rings. He was sending, ships, very detailed ships into glass bottles and stuff. And I bet you could do that. That's what you're doing with the foam.
Well, thank you. I appreciate. I do have dream. I'm just working on it. It's not. I won't say I'm even close, but I'm excited to eventually do a smoke presentation of Lazarus coming out of the cave.
Oh, wouldn't that
Wow.
be amazing?
Yeah.
I mean, I tend to, be a little bit side-eye about vaping, even though, we have given vapes to teens to get them to come to climax. Of course, that is going to be it's not going to have nicotine or anything like that in it. But right. I'm like, whatever gets them to church. So I don't mind if you're vaping. Whatever's in that vape, I just try to make sure it's a positive vaping experience. But I think biblical vaping is absolutely savage and just would be so fire.
Oh yeah, I agree. It would be, it's pretty riz.
Oh yeah. Well,
at the end of the day.
Oh, I love that.
Do you have a favorite flavor? I know that they can get very detailed flavors, like with vaping where you can get, and I hope you don't have any of the bad stuff in your vapes because they say it's so hard to kick. It's harder than heroin to kick it.
That I can tell you from firsthand, that's not true.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's not true, and it is nicotine. But Pastor Steve gave me a pass because I am so riddled with addictions. That
Okay.
this is kind of the only thing that's sort of keeping me. I need some drug, as he put it. I need some drug to act as gravity to keep me on Earth. Otherwise, I might, go crazy. But in terms of what's my favorite flavor, I'm gonna have to say bison jerky.
Oh, wow. Wow.
This really makes me think, Halle, about addiction, because I've been someone that's worked with a lot of addicts in the past.
Is that right?
Something that we used to do with the teens who come to Climax all the time is, we'd load them up on a bus, we'd go downtown Indy, and we would just go around to people that we thought were addicts, and we would say, hey, how would you like to try a new drug? And inevitably the answer was yes. Of course, that drug that we were offering them was the best drug, which is Jesus. You don't need anything else. But, from what I hear you saying, Satchel, it sounds like, then they would say, well, let me try it. And a lot of times we'd read them a Bible verse or we'd act out a little skit. And they wouldn't go for it. But I guess what I'm wondering is, as an addict, what do you think that we could, how do we get people to try Christ and replace that drug with Jesus? Because I thought it was such a good idea, but a lot of times people would try it once and then they wouldn't go back to it and they would say, well, I want to just keep doing crank or whatever,
Sure. Well, I would say, this, again, from experience, like a little bit of drugs enhances every experience. Including worship, Bible class, sermons, or whatever, and it's just the kind of thing that makes it a little bit. It makes the purples a little more purplier, if you know what I mean.
So I maybe don't want to go all the way there, but
I hear that, like, when somebody does heroin for the first time, they just feel this immense euphoria, and they're just then chasing that good feeling again for the rest of their life, which they can never get. How do we make Jesus feel that good on your first try?
Wow. Well, if there's a way that you could like just mainline, you could just spike Jesus right into the vein, and it gets right in there. Of course, I'm not gonna go down this road, but there's a sexual ecstasy that comes from heroin.
Oh,
wow! It's a very physical feeling, as if your entire body, your entire soul, were a sexual organ that's being stimulated by the universe.
Wow!
And you just feel completely one, and at the same time you feel held, you feel soothed, and I'm remembering the first time that I did it. It's one of the first and only times I've ever really felt at home.
Oh,
really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you married?
I am currently married. Yes.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Oh, good. Well,
I met somebody through the church. And,
that is
good.
awesome.
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
I don't know if you know Ingrid Pepperhaus.
Yes, I love Ingrid.
Yep. She's homebound. She usually watches the sermons on
streaming.
streaming. Yeah. And I met her, I did a Meals on Wheels, and
Cool.
I met her a lot of, she's an older lady, one of the biggest age gap of any relationship I've been in. But she's wonderful. What a sweet gal.
And I mean, that's a God thing, isn't it? That, that you would be doing Meals on Wheels.
I mean, I will say that I did run up onto her porch.
Oh, okay.
The first time and that was a complete accident.
And that's not one of the 6.
No. But I kind of like Kool-Aid style, just kind of banged into her front of her house.
It happens every day.
I mean, I think it's just so great and so positive when people, when God basically is like matchmaker, right? He's just putting people together in ways you would never imagine. And in this case, it's, you driving a Meals on Wheels car, sort of running up on her porch, and then the next thing you know, someone who looks and sounds like you is with a lady who, well, we haven't actually seen or heard from her in quite some time, but it sounds like you all are doing quite well.
Well, yeah, she's the, and I'll say this, I've learned a lot about myself here at this community. She's sort of like the mother that I never knew.
That's awesome.
She mothers me. She's I call her mommy.
Okay.
And, proportionally, I'm like a little baby at her breast. I just snuggle right in there. And, again, I won't say it feels as good as heroin, nor not even close, but I do feel enveloped and safe and warm.
The Bible tells us that God works in mysterious ways. And, you running into her house with your Meal on Wheel car, is such I think that's a God thing. I think God said, I have prepared a helpmate for you, Satchel, and it might come in a package you're not expecting, but look at you. I mean, you're in love to the point where it's almost as good as heroin. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I think that's a God thing. I really, really do. I also think if you're out there, somehow still having a license and able to deliver Meals on Wheels, I believe that when you're doing charitable stuff like that in a car, God's going to protect you. The Holy Spirit's going to take the wheel, and He's going to keep you from, hitting and running or any other kind of thing.
Well, I agree. And, we're going to find out. Really. We're going to find out. But I hope that's true.
Well, I mean, how do you guard your heart against that of just jumping in to following something else? Because not that I think that there's a better option out there, but I do worry about the weakness of man.
Sure.
And of your type of man specifically, which is kind of a guy that is just like, you see a flashy thing, and the next thing you know, like I worry that maybe the ballroom dance craze will come back, like it, and suddenly you're off doing that
or
something,
Swing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a community that I did get involved in.
Oh no!
Oh, it was just awful. I mean,
really?
I'll be honest. I still see a bowling shirt, and I have to kind of gird my loins and relax. But to answer your question, yes, I am very susceptible. So I try to keep a regimented schedule. I go from home. From mommy's lap to the to church, to Bible study, to the cafe, to the vape store, to the vape juice supply.
Oh, you have to. Oh, so you have to get it from a different place.
Well, I do
it
in bulk. I do have it. They don't have canisters big enough for me, so I keep a pretty small radius.
Got it.
But I do worry about, there's a X Games demo coming to town, so I got to make sure that I'm not around. Or next thing you know, I'm going to be like buying a BMX bike or jumping out of an airplane with a Red Bull.
Hey, if you enjoyed this episode, send it to somebody that you think would find it funny too. I'm doing this all out of order. Satchel Morehouse was played by the great Seth Morris. Check out his podcast, College Town, over on the Comedy Bang Bang Network. And hey, why don't you support Mega? It really helps us. There's ways to do that in the show notes, like getting ad-free listening and behind-the-scenes stuff. Go check it out, and thanks.